In the days following the start of quarantine, I found myself in a really dark headspace. I was really overcome with just anxiety and fear and hopelessness. And so I realized I needed to spend some time with the Lord, and how I best connect with God is through worship. And so I decided to go on a run and just be in nature, and I put on Stephanie Gretzinger's new worship album, which I hadn't listened to yet. And I was about 15 minutes into my run, and I got to this section where there's a ton of stairs, and they're super long and steep. And I've tried to run them before, and I've never ever made it to the top. And so I got about halfway up, and I was just exhausted and struggling to breathe and just feeling kind of frustrated. And the song came on, and immediately I was just captivated because it was so beautiful. And then I started to tune into the lyrics, and it's hard to articulate with words the experience that I had, but it was as if my life just kind of stood still, and I felt the tangible presence of God, and the peace of Jesus just kind of came over me. And it was as if in that moment everything kind of just came into perspective. And the lyrics reminded me of how deeply and expansively Jesus cares for me, and how far he's carried me through in my life. And as I've kind of reflected over these last couple of weeks, this song has been a kind of my heart's cry. And it sounds slightly morbid, but I've been thinking a lot about my end days, and that day that I see my Creator face to face. And I imagine me and Jesus kind of looking at my life retrospectively, and me not only seeing how Jesus cared for me and carried me through really dark seasons like this one, but also me standing there and looking at my life and seeing it as a story, and asking myself, how was my life a testimony to God's goodness and God's faithfulness? And so, in this season, I've just been thinking a lot about how I've been spending my time, and what I've been focusing my thoughts on. And I think as Christians, we have this beautiful opportunity to be a light in this really dark season where a lot of people are really lonely. And so as we sing this song, I just encourage you to think about the goodness of God, and think about that, the idea that even though we've lost so much of our comforts and these sources of joy, that Jesus is still enough for us, and Jesus is still our source of joy and our source of hope. Our God is so good and so faithful, and he will carry us through this season.
If my heart could tell a story, if my life would sing a song, if I have a testimony, if I have anything at all, no one ever cared for me like Jesus. His faithful hand has held me all this way. And when I'm old and gray and all my days are numbered on the earth, let it be known, in you alone my joy was found. Children tell their children, let this be their memory, that all my treasure was in heaven. You were everything to me. faithful hand has held me all this way. And when I'm old and gray and all my days are numbered on the earth, let it be known in you alone my joy was found. I'm still in love. You're still enough for me. Still all I want. You're still my everything. I'm still in love. You're still my everything. Still all I want. You're still enough for me. No one ever cared for me like Jesus. His faithfulness held me all this way. And when I'm old and gray and all my days are numbered on the earth, let it be known